Welcome to Modern Marketing Messages, the leading podcast discussing the latest and greatest in both online and offline marketing tactics, strategies, and trends. I'm your host, Taylor Karg, marketing content writer at AmericanEagle.com. I have two special guests here with me today to talk all about Wastebuilt's new project launch. They are Derek Cwik, solutions engineer at AmericanEagle.com, and Kevin Creese, e-commerce director at Wastebuilt, which is the parent company of Wastebuilt, which we'll get into all of that later. Right. So welcome, Derek and Kevin. Thank you so much for joining the show today.
Thanks for having me.
Likewise.
So Derek, can you introduce a little bit about your role at AmericanEagle.com and your relationship with Wastebuilt and Wastebuilt and kind of why you're co-hosting the show with me today?
Certainly. So as of June 23rd, just a couple days ago, I celebrated my 15th anniversary with AmericanEagle.com.
Wow. I didn't realize it was that long.
I know. I've maintained my looks here. It's getting a little thin in the back.
That's why you put the hat on.
15 years. So it's been a journey. And today I'm a solutions engineer, solutions architect to help our sales team with digesting technical requirements for new clients like Kevin and helping translate that to our project team.
Wow. So you're pretty smart. So I'm glad to have you here today.
The illusion holds.
Well, I would have to say I definitely agree. It's been great to work with them already. So, yeah.
Awesome. Kevin, can you introduce yourself a little bit and explain your role at Wastebuilt and Wastebuilt and how you began working with AmericanEagle.com?
Sure. So I'm Kevin Creese. I'm the director of e-commerce with Wastebuilt, which is the parent company for Wastebuilt and a few other brands we'll go over in a little bit. But I started working with American Eagle in probably about 2018 or so. We'd reached out and we were looking for some help trying to figure out the e-commerce space. We had a couple other websites that were existing that were e-commerce, but they weren't real successful. Didn't really feel like we were reaching our customers correctly. You know, we were just kind of struggling in that space. So we reached out and said, hey, help us in this space. You guys are professionals in this field. You're one of a few that we vetted out. And then, you guys won the bid. And it's like we said we wanted to do business with them. So with you guys in general. So, that's where we kind of started. And then it's just kind of been a question and answer since then. So.
And Kevin's a pretty humble guy. He was, I'd say, a trailblazer in his space in that at that time, right, pre-pandemic, a lot of companies in his space were not looking to the web, right? They were selling traditionally and were almost fearful of the web. And he had a lot of vision of where he wanted to take business, and it's been a journey for sure. Yeah. And he's held steadfast to that original vision, and which has, I think, netted you to where you are today.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, I think that's super awesome too. Just from working at AmericanEagle.com, I feel like a lot of people or companies in your industry, specifically manufacturing and distribution, they're kind of slow to adapt to that mindset of, digital and e-commerce and all that stuff. So that's awesome.
Yeah. We deal with a lot of people where technology is just scary. And it's just not part of what they deal with every day. They'd rather, work with wrenches and keep hydraulics running. And so that becomes a challenge for us in our space for sure.
How long have you been with Wastebuilt?
I've been with Wastebuilt for 8 years now.
Oh, wow.
I come from an IT background, and I got tired of fixing printers. I kind of moved into data. Data's always kind of been my thing. And so I've spent a lot of time trying to focus on keeping our data organized. And from our company's perspective, I've kind of worked across all of our different divisions and pulling everything together from where we're at as a company and reporting our sales and all that. And then we moved to the e-commerce space, and my boss asked me to kind of work towards that and adapt some of just our organizational skills into the way we can sell products online.
So can you tell us a little bit about, Wastebuilt, Wastebuilt? I know there's, you said like 12 brands under the Wastebuilt name, and you got your list.
I got my list. I got some notes. So I made a couple of different notes just to make sure I keep it straight. So we're essentially kind of in about 4 different categories. We're going to do trucks and chassis. We're going to do containers, services, and then parts and tarps. And so
parts and tarps.
I mean, that's kind of where we're at. So our first endeavor was with Mountain Tarp and trying to get their new website launched. And so of our brands, let's go through them real quick. So in the truck space, we've got AmRep. It's kind of located on the West Coast. They build refuse truck bodies, and they do cylinders or roll off hoists. And then we've got one of the best-selling brands out there in the space, Galbraith, who does their hoist manufacturer. Every time you see a truck that's got a container on the back, it's probably made by Galbraith. So it's kind of cool. Whenever I'm rolling down the road, I see our products.
Yeah, we've got 294 right to our back here, and we see the trucks going by. And it's funny, as we onboard customers like you guys, a brand you've never noticed in your entire life. Now you just see it streaming by on a daily basis. It's
so
really
true.
crazy to see how it powers the world.
It's so true. It's so true. And so then we move into containers. So we make the containers that we haul as well. So we've got, accurate intermodal containers, some of the shipping containers that are out there. We make a lot of those. And the brand Wastebuilt is filled with compactors, dumpsters, balers, all of those. You see a dumpster behind a building. It's probably got our logo on it, right? And then Toter, really well-known brand for rotationally molded plastics, right? So we're definitely in the garbage space, right? And so we deal a lot with traditional business. We do a lot of municipalities, a lot of retail. So whenever you see that, we're out there in those aisles. You'll see us at Home Depot and other major retailers as well. And then, parts and tarp. So you Pioneer with the gantry systems for how they tarp products to kind of raise your tarp systems up over your heaps, whatever you're hauling, and not rip them to shreds. And then really we get into our services. So, to tie it all together and how do you actually get all these different components serviced, you use companies like Wastebuilt Works, Container Pros who help out with professional services. And we've actually just introduced some software as well. So we've got software solutions for managing large groups of assets. So. And then of course our parts and distribution side, the Wastebuilt, which is what we're going to talk about today. So
So why was it hard to get online?
Oh, man.
Seems like you've got a really commoditized turnkey product.
I mean, I think a lot of it has been like, if we have it, let's fulfill, let's build it, and then you deal with how do you get the job done rather than how do you build out all the data to support getting that job done online, right? And so I think we kind of are in that same place. We started in that same place where every company starts. Is our data organized enough for us to get it online and where it makes any sense to our customers? Right. And that was definitely a very large challenge that we had to deal with, was how do we actually start trying to take all of these different categories we have, identify all their parts, represent our brands accordingly, because we're known for producing high quality, high durability, great customer service. Those are all things that we take a lot of pride in, and I needed to represent that with how we came to the table.
Yeah, I mean, when we started our journey, or your sales pursuit with us, at least, we didn't have beautiful data that we're dealing with.
No.
We didn't have, we had your vision, and that's what we kept anchoring on, was like, this is where you want to go. And here are some platforms we offer that could help with it. One of them that I felt should be at the top was Oro. We had a demo gone bad with them. Kind of soured Kevin a little bit. And I said, hey, take another look, because I think this is a really strong platform for where you guys want to go. It's in part, they've come a long way as well. Back then, they were still new to the market. So there was a lot of trust that Kevin had to put in us in that recommendation. And, it's hard for businesses because of that data issue. And that's the biggest mountain to overcome, is how do we make it relevant to our audience? Our buyers are not consumers.
Right. Yeah. How are they using it today? How do they want to use it today? How do they dig through these books and binders of parts and make any sense of it? I mean, it just astonished me as I was doing the legwork to try to better understand the business, how they get the job done, and so I've always kind of pursued it as one of my goals is to just make the business easier. If I can't get through my day and try to make someone else's day better, well, then I'm not really doing what I'm supposed to. And I think Oro and American Eagle helped me come to the table to really identify better ways to do business, and take some of my vision, start to figure out how we can execute that, what that looks like. And then, working with companies like Salsify, who's our product information management system, really helped to tie all the data together, to give me ways to create workflows, to kind of manage the information collection process, to make sure I'm tasking people with the things they need to be focused on, and not make going to market this big elephant that you got to eat all at once. And try to just figure out how I can just eat one bite at a time, right?
Indeed. And starting with Mountain Tarp as the first golden child or victim, depending on how you want to look at it.
Depending on your perspective of how it went.
That was strategic though as well. I remember those conversations of, it's a... maybe you can talk about that brand.
I think it was. I mean, our Mountain Tarp offering, we wanted to get them online. We wanted to get our parts out there. So there was a need, but the offering was smaller. It's on about 2,000 SKUs, so it gave us an opportunity to say, well, can we do this? Can we take what we think we know of Salsify for our PIM, the technology that we're using for OroCommerce, that partnered with a team that's known for doing great work with what AmericanEagle.com is doing, and then build it out. And so, we tried all those things. We tested out there. We got that website out there. All of the automation was there. All of the day-to-day work for managing a website, that time spent trying to organize this, update that, was all automated, and to where, it took a lot less work and effort to manage. So after we kind of got that website launched, we learned a lot of lessons. It was not the easiest path. We had some very heart-to-heart conversations around what my expectations were versus what was delivered, but we worked together as a partnership to kind of get through those things. It was kind of like a marriage that way,
Yeah.
When you struggle, you got to communicate, you got to talk, you got to work through it, maybe compromise, and then figure out how you're going to move forward.
You might be borrowing that analogy from me, or I stole it from you.
I probably borrowed it from you.
I use it all the time. It is a marriage, and there's a lot of trust that is needed, and time, right? Sometimes we forget what was said early on, and maybe how that now impacts us to update later down the road. One of the things I do recall was just around the graphics, right? We had kept it really simple, just more of a branded design, and that might have been to our fault of it's hard to make something pop when it just looks branded and boring. So let's rethink about that design, especially with the additional brands. Let's put some more effort into designing those so that it's a beautiful site, not just a transactional site. Yeah,
it was like kind of our first learning experience, and me being green as well, and being a company that's leaning on an agency service to kind of help us with that. It was about asking all the right questions and having all that figured out the first time, and it took some time for us to get it dialed in. And I think you see that with where we've evolved into, and so growing into the Wastebuilt, I'm definitely allocated more time to the design. The overall look and feel is there. It's very, very customer friendly, and so far we're getting some excellent feedback on it. So.
Yeah. What was the reason why you started with Mountain Tarp, and then is Wastebuilt the second one that you kind of revamped, or?
Yeah, I think to a point it was proof of concept. Can we do this? Do we have the tools to make sure we can manage new customer registration correctly and not create chaos in our ERP system, to make sure that orders flow correctly, to figure out how we're going to manage inventory, to answer some questions around shipping and just logistics in general. And so can we manage those things, or can we use this as a way to establish internal business processes to better manage different situations? What are those business processes? What do they have to be? So we kind of use that to define the e-commerce business, because it's all just so new to us, So we've done that. We did the legwork. Like, this is how just a straightforward business process works for identifying new customers, for getting orders into the system, for communicating that information back to our customers in a way that they know what's going on, they know what to expect, and that they're going to get what they're looking for, and they're going to get it right the first time. It's so that's really the goal. Give our customers enough information to make informed purchasing decisions, so that we don't waste their time and they can get on with what they need from us quickly.
I feel like a lot of, just from, working on case studies and stuff from projects that AmericanEagle.com completes, a lot of companies have challenges with customers ordering the correct products. And that's, something that they always look to solve by coming, and replatforming, or just, integrating with better tools.
Yeah. There's a few different approaches that we tried to take to handle that. We focused heavily on our taxonomy. We wanted to make sure that the way that customers are searching is the way that they search in general. We did a lot of SEO work, a lot of search engine, a lot of search engine research to make sure we're using the right keywords for how we organize our products. And in some cases, we found that it didn't really exist. The people haven't done this right in our industry. And look, they're all over the place. The top search products are all item numbers, and you're like, well, that's a little too specific, or it's too generic, like container. And you're trying to figure out that median. And so using tools as a median between that was Salsify for us. And they worked out wonderfully. But then beyond that, it's having wonderful search engines, it's all about the infrastructure, right? So we went back to American Eagle and said, here's what we're actually trying to do with the way that people search on our site. What's the right tool for us to kind of help figure out our search engine solutions? Because we wanted to make sure that we gave them not only exact products, sure, that's easy, but let's say they do some generic searches for like just tarps in general. How do we actually organize that or present that to our customers in a way that they're going to be able to see our categorization and say, oh yeah, I'm looking for a tarp for a dumpster or a dump truck, right? And just making sure there's enough information even to narrow down that search to where now from 50, it's turned into 10 for them to choose from, and they're not hit with the paradox of choice, right? And even from there, now you have another tool where you can introduce facets or filtering along the left-hand side of your webpage to make that selection even easier. Here's the certain width that I want. Here's the type of material that I want, and just kind of go from there. And
the win isn't always getting the sale through the website. The win is getting your customer to a little bit closer to that sale, right?
Yeah.
So it might mean getting engaged with the sales rep. It might mean initiating a chat. It might mean a couple of things other than buy now, right? So those are other things that Kevin started bringing aboard is, thinking operationally, there's going to be some disruption to the org, but it's all for a positive, a net outcome of we're going to get the sale, just maybe not right now.
Yeah, maybe not the first time that the customer interacts with the brand, but eventually down the road.
We've how many times do they click and call that phone number? How many times? We are starting with our chat now and getting that online and getting some data from that. Nice. Helping to even try to use that to enhance our frequently asked questions. And so we can kind of start to get in front of our customers and think how they're thinking. I think it's just been a complete learning experience that way for us.
Yeah, we can build websites all day long, but we really need our partners, our customers to adopt things internally, right? And really embrace the change for them to be successful. Because if you just build it, it doesn't mean sales are just going to pop. And and Kevin's he's been shepherding that team. I mean, it's been a journey, and he's remained so positive throughout it.
He's being polite. It's one of those things where you kind of get into the weeds and then you kind of learn what you didn't know. And then how do you adapt to that and then refocus? And then, it may take a few more hours here or there to get some of these things kind of dialed in the way that you want them to, but you have to have someone responsive to those types of requests and say, okay, we can do that, Kevin. The impacts are these things, and make sure those are clearly known. This is going to affect timelines. This is going to increase hours, and just make sure the project is clearly defined. I mean, so, just kind of keeping that open relationship and just moving forward from there.
It sounds like you guys had, a long journey, but one that is turning out to be very positive.
I came back
walking the beaches in Florida when we're tired.
I came back to build the second website with you guys. So
that should give us an inkling of what's going on.
We've got some ideas for the future, and I think that as I'm thinking about those, I'm thinking, man, I need to probably bounce these ideas off my partners here and kind of go forward from there.
So we talked a little bit in the beginning about, choosing OroCommerce as the platform for the website. Can we get more into the details of that? What was the reason or the strategy behind choosing OroCommerce?
Yeah, so trying to have that forward vision of where are we going as a company? I mean, Wastequip is an all-in-one solution in the waste industry. And so as I'm thinking about, we were going live with tarps and parts, and so getting ready to plan for parts, kind of knowing where our pain points were, we want to make sure we had a multi-tenant client that was able to support multiple different domains. And so that was important to us. Their foundation is based with PHP. And so that's kind of close to us with some of our software solutions. So we thought potentially down the road, there may be some opportunities there for internal enhancements for just our overall support structure. Their content management system was flexible and dynamic. The B2B solutions that they offer are all there. The options that they give us for B2B include, bulk order updating, and to where you type ahead and autocomplete is all there. I'm thinking of all the different ways that someone in maintenance is going to give that information to that receptionist up front and say, get these parts ordered for me so I can get my fleet back on the road and start making money again. And so, as I'm looking for what these solutions actually are, Oro had a lot of those bundled into that, and they're all part of their foundation. They've got some great promotional opportunities to kind of manage that. And they were fairly easy for us to integrate into, and so there was quite a few different reasons. The other part too is that they were responsive. And I think as we had more conversations, we talked with their leadership team, and we want to make sure that their vision and values align with ours. When we talked with your guys' leadership team just around that, when we took on this project, I believe it was Oro's first experience with American Eagle. And,
I was just about to ask the background between that and if it was a newer project. Or...
it was the first time. And so now I'm trying to sell this into my leadership. And I'm like, well, hey, they're new here, they're new there. Like, well, we all need to talk and make sure we have some generalized understanding about how we're going to support this thing moving forward. All those conversations were had and all of the expectations were set, and they were all met. I mean, it was a new experience. It did take a little extra time. There was a learning curve associated with it. I mean, there always is with something that's new, but recognizing that, we're pretty close to our timelines. I mean, nothing ever falls exactly on point, but we were pretty close to where we wanted to hit.
Yeah, you were our first dance. And and again, I felt a lot of the weight of that project
because I was stepping on his toes.
Oh, yeah.
If you listen to some of
heavy on the foot.
on previous podcasts, we do have that I've been on here with Oro. I don't know if we covered off on it, but I had been watching Oro for a number of years just because of how they were founded and some of their backstory, which for folks listening in is basically Magento, and they took this B2B specific approach. Most B2B platforms at the time were B2C platforms that were moonlighting in B2B, right? They were trying to become a B2B solution. Mm-hmm. These guys built it from the ground up. And it was through an ERP conference that I was formally introduced to Oro just by some mutual acquaintances and said, you guys got to meet, make it happen. We got some demos underway, some prototyping and proof of concepts, and I was really excited for it. So when Kevin came with his requirements, I'm like, and he talks about all the features that could be used. It's like, yep.
Checking all the boxes.
Maybe relevant in the future. Maybe, there was a lot there. I mean, there's a lot in Oro. And so, it was how do we all work together as well as part of that sales opportunity of, we're new to this with Oro, but trust that we've looked into it, vetted it, and we feel confident in it. So, and we made it happen.
Yeah. And then from there, it was really just a matter of, Oro kind of saying, hey, we're going to help you out with this first project. Again, showing their commitment to trying to continue growth and foster new relationships. All those kind of gave me the confidence that their platform wasn't done with what we were buying into. It's the platform. It's the beginning of where this platform is going to go, especially when you start getting companies like AmericanEagle.com behind it and partnered with companies like OroCommerce. Two great companies working together to help me accomplish my goal. I was looking forward to what you're going to bring to my career path. So,
hey, we're all a little bit selfish.
it was we pulled it off. So it's out there and they're functioning and they're easy for me to work in.
So with the new Wastebuilt website, you consolidated two websites into one. Wastebuilt, and then the other one, which was gotoparts.com. What was the reasoning behind doing that?
Yeah, so the Wastebuilt, parts.wastebuilt.com is actually still out there. I mean, it's only for some old historical purposes, but it was a really non-functional site. We had 50 customers using it. All of the customers found it extremely difficult to search for parts. I was told at one point by one of the guys I was doing my discovery with that they've got maybe a 15% chance of ordering the right part if they don't know
15,
it already. 15%. Oh, wow. Yeah. So I'm like, wow, so your failure rate, or if you have, I'm like, because I was like, why aren't you letting more customers in here? Well, they weren't because they couldn't figure out what they were buying. So that informed customer purchasing decision just wasn't there. They didn't have the ability to process credit cards. Only existing customers that had, payment terms or established some sort of contract with us were able to buy from us. So I guess it was really B2B, but it was very limited B2B. And then it just didn't have that look and feel of how you can actually get there with your parts. You try to organize. We'll talk a little bit more about some of the enhanced functionality you'll see with Wastebuilt, but it just wasn't there in the industry, And then we had gotoparts.com, which I had been managing for probably about a year. And it was starting to come along. I mean, we were starting to do some new ways of thinking about how you surface your images, trying to just do some groundwork for what we would call assembly parts diagrams or kind of blown apart drawings. And all those things were kind of starting to work, and those were all parts of vision that we had shared throughout the years of just trying to understand the requirements from gotoparts.com. But they, there's some history with that brand, and they weren't as well established as Wastebuilt. Wastebuilt has known for excellent customer service, known for quick delivery times, and known for just having the parts available. If they didn't have them, they're going to find them. So then the acquisition came, right? So we acquired Wastebuilt, I think in July of 2021. So we're right in there. Right. And so we were getting ready to try to scope out gotoparts.com for a new website. That's when we had talked about it. We hashed all that stuff out and they're like, wait, hold on, brakes. When the first time I put the brakes on a project, and it took us 6 to 9 months to kind of figure out how to merge those companies together.
Oh, wow. So this merger kind of, put a stake in the original project.
Yeah, I mean, because we had originally
scoped that original scoped project took a while as well, just because of some of these, the schematics feature was a big one. I mean, that parts explosion, there's softwares that solve for that, but then that's another added cost, and then it's another system to maintain. So we had this whole like build versus buy paradigm, and then we were looking at that. Oro did a great job of just solutioning for that, of how we can model that out. And then we took that forward in terms of how we implement it. So it was a great baton pass in that regard. But
it's been, I think that's one thing that kind of goes maybe unknown or untalked about too often is here's what I'm trying to get to. Here's how I'm trying to, what that vision looks like. And then throwing it out there to both OroCommerce and to American Eagle, and them coming back saying, well, here's some opportunities that in that space. Here's what this might look like for you. And then coming up and showing me those things so we can say, oh, that's kind of what I'm looking for. Let's dial it in this way or that way. And just kind of tuning it to exactly what we wanted to build. So then, then the acquisition came. We decided that Wastebuilt was going to be the company that we went forward with, right? And they just had a better reputation, and they had more service locations, which is important to us. We're continuing to grow, continuing to become a nationwide solutioner for anybody in the waste industry, and so those are all important growing facts for us. And they had started to establish that footprint, and so then it was the whole point of trying to merge those two together, which was its own set of issues. So,
I was just about to ask, what kind of challenges did you guys experience with merging both of those websites? And is GoToParts still existing as a website? No,
GoToParts is no more. GoToParts is no longer in existence. So all of that will redirect to wastebuilt.com.
Gotcha.
So first thing you had to do is the SKU rationalization. So what parts were they selling under what item numbers that match these other ones, and try to figure out that puzzle. So we used our middleware solutions to kind of help out with that. And so as we categorize products, so it was very nice to kind of, so as we started implementing our taxonomy, we're able to kind of narrow in on particular categories and say, oh, do these parts overlap? If you have been in the industry at all, working with data from an ERP system, you know that it's garbage. I had probably 28 items called spring, right? And I'm like, well, I need to actually understand the difference between these two so I can start to market them.
You don't have all the pictures?
I don't have all the pictures. No. Yeah, exactly. So, those are all real challenges that we actually had to start undergoing. How do you actually ship this product if I don't know what the dimensions are?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, those things become complications, and they continue to be complications. But I think, if you get the right infrastructure in place, then you can we even worked on automating a lot of those workflows. So where I've got people out there on site, taking dimensions and weights and helping me to get images every day, and so every week we're uploading, more information, more accurate details to make sure that we're dialing in our overall cost and just be as transparent as possible with all of our customers.
Yeah. I mean, that's, I think, our biggest hurdle in the sales process, at least, where the customer's data is their ERP data, and it's ERP data.
Yeah.
It's atrocious. It's hard to make it web ready.
From an e-commerce perspective, there's not enough required fields whenever they're filling out a new item number in an ERP system. It's like, please just make
or you've got 25 characters to write that long description.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Yeah. And then playing nicely with other departments like finance and all those that need to have their own way for reporting revenue versus what works for online sales.
If you like all caps, it's a great system to maintain all caps.
Exactly. Yeah. It's all too familiar problems.
So what are some of the new features and functionalities that were incorporated into the new Wastebuilt site that you guys are, particularly proud of?
I tell you, I mean, it's kind of fun to be part of a project that actually changes the industry. Right. I mean, to where we've done the research and we looked at everybody that's out there in our space. We identified a couple of players that looked like they had a pretty good start, but they weren't where we wanted to be. We wanted to take what they had started and take that next level. Right. So, there's some things like, the B2B part of the quick order, and just having different ways to kind of manage that is definitely a go-to. It's a win for our customers. Now, we have full integration into our ERP system. So pulling things like order history. Right, something simple like that, to where I ordered this before. I don't remember that item number was, but I'm going to go back in here and reorder that.
Yeah,
and so it's pulling that even before they did business with me online. So we're going back to the overall history of our customers and giving them all the ability to reorder that quickly and easily, right, within 3 clicks. making order processing easy. The ability to find products. Maybe you still don't know what those are. So we got the enhanced search engine offered by HawkSearch and Bridgeline, which is very powerful and very scalable and dynamic. There's so much more you can do with it that we're still scraping the surface on. But giving them that structure, tying in multiple different websites. I mean, we've got 2 different indexes, one for wastebuilt.com. And if you don't find it there, maybe I've got it on Mountain Tarp, and you'll see results for both sites on either wastebuilt.com or on Mountain Tarp. So that's part of the other wonderful ability of having that OroCommerce as a backbone, right? The multi-tenant solution. So a robust search engine that is fully integrated with Salsify. So all of our data, we can update categorization, maybe identify new requirements for how you want to search and filter for products. All those things I can do quickly. I can get. We launched our site with 26,000 products. We're currently at 35,000 products, and we've only been online for 2 months.
Yeah,
that's almost 10,000 products. I mean, that's the type of scalability we would be able to kind of embrace, right? So we're out there working hard to get more products out there for our customers. We'll continue to do so. The other piece is we've got a taxonomy that works. It does flow with the way that we understand our customers to kind of think through. So if they don't know exactly what they're looking for, they can get to the categories for where their products exist quickly, right? And then the other feature that's actually a little bit more revolutionary is the exploited parse diagrams. The interactive schematics we have on our website, where you can you get this blown apart product. It's interactive. You move over the bubble that you're looking for. This is the widget that I need to actually order for this product.
The spring.
The spring. Yeah. One of the 20. Yeah. And so as you hover over, it's going to pull it up, show you a nice image of the product. It'll take you to the product detail page if you need more, or you can just add it to your cart and move on with the day, right? And so it's that solving that puzzle piece is now a lot easier. We've got it by item number, no problem. We've got it by assembled drawings, where you can I know I'm working on this type of a product. I can drill into it, find the components that I need because I know it looks like this.
Right.
And I just don't know what that item number is. And I don't want to look through that, 200,000 page manual to find the item number for this particular part. I need a quicker way to do business. And you're going to find that at wastebuilt.com.
I mean, it sounds incredible of all the new features. And it really sounds like customers are now able to make a better, faster, more informed purchasing decision.
Perfect.
Because I messed up all those
I've sold it right. It sounds great.
I'm just envisioning that book right now. Just
the stacks.
Got a Granger book that's real.
I feel like that would just give me anxiety. Like just trying to find something out of that booklet that's
now
large.
They're all underneath their monitors.
Yeah,
so they've got a good place
propping up the screen a little bit.
Yeah, if I did my job right, that's where they'll all be. So.
Yeah. So in what ways has re-platforming on OroCommerce helped in managing site content and SEO? And can you explain how the platform supports the company's goals in this way?
Yeah. So you guys know that a website is never done, right? You start someplace, you put a stake in the sand.
Don't we know it?
Yeah, right. Yeah. That's why they have maintenance contracts. Yeah. Yeah. So you put a stake in the sand.
We're also hiring, by the way.
Yeah.
There you go. So you put a stake in the sand, and then you've got to figure out how you continue to push forward, right? The re-platforming for us gave us a foundation that is scalable, that we can automate, data feeds from our ERP system into our PIM, into Salsify as our PIM. I run all of that stuff through workflows to get it enhanced and ready to go to market, because I got to transform that ERP data into something that Google and my customers are going to love. Right. And they can be searched by common words, day-to-day words, and so, having a way to kind of automate those things, and then using the integrations we have into OroCommerce made it easy. Right. So, as we go through and do product category content, for example, we will go through and run that through internal workflows to enhance why are we going to market? We've got 5 different questions we ask in just trying to develop those categories, and then take that information and we work with another agency to help us get content created.
Oh, right.
Okay. And so we could work with like AmericanEagle.com to get that content created and add it back in and move forward from there. Because then we automate those tasks where they go through and update, just that data and submit it back to us to review. I approve it. And once it's approved, we publish it that night and it goes live the next day. And it's that type of scalability, that type of responsiveness that we needed to be able to kind of adapt to what our customers are asking for. Yeah. And then from there, just even the trackability, knowing when products were launched, what products are associated with these images, the cross-selling items. We have an extensive list of how this item has ever been sold, what it will ever work with. So searching for those those old part numbers comes up with actual results that should match what our customers are looking for today. And those are all problem solutions that everyone in our industry is asking for.
Awesome.
Yeah, if I had a buck for like, where's my truck?
Yeah.
Question from a B2B client, I'd be rich. I mean, that is like the number one question, because it's after I get my order in, whether it's through the web or through my sales rep, or EDI, whatever. That's the next question. It's all about turnaround time, right? And speed and
I mean, they've got people out there with fleets to manage. They've got a lot of product. They've got a lot of money tied up in keeping them on the road. And so trying to even figure out maintenance schedules, trying to figure out rerouted logistical planning, because you've got product down, is something that they just can't deal with. And so our goal is to get them parts within 3 days at the longest. Most of our customers get parts within 1 or 2 days. And that's unheard of, right? And if there's something else that's needed, we're going to go above and beyond and give them ways to contact us to just experience that customer service team that's outstanding. That's going to help them find the parts that they need to keep their fleets on the road.
Yeah, I heard a rumor that when Amazon was looking at how do we model our delivery system, they took a look over here.
Wow.
Oh, wow, man. That's
just
quite
a rumor.
That's a steep cliff to climb.
Well, the fun part on my end is that, Kevin's ERP is an ERP we've integrated with many, many times. And part of when we were talking to him about it is showing him, here are some other clients where we've integrated, but giving him the caution of they're all different. I mean, they're never... You would think that they're the same, right? Just everybody implements this ERP. We should integrate it really easy and quick. And we use a great partner for that integration. And every time it's unique. And every time there are challenges, because businesses, shockingly, run very different. And their data is set up and configured uniquely to them. And it's hard to tell that story and get people to trust you in the sales process of, trust us, we do this all the time, but it's going to be really hard and you're going to be very unique, because that just sounds so paradoxical. But that's the reality that we're faced with. And
and you guys you helped us out in that space too. How do we identify other professionals that you've worked with in your experience, your vast experience of building wonderful, great websites, and using that to kind of help us figure out who's going to help us to partner with some of those pieces, right? And so we did go with Mind Harbor as one of those solutions engineers who had a great experience with Epicor and P21 and use that to get that overall build completed, and really kind of relate on them for just understanding how the data flows. What are some of the tables we need to make sure we match with, and how that everything, all the mappings work, and then from there being responsive and being able to kind of pivot when we need them to pivot. When they understood our data models a little bit differently, we don't use this value here, we use that value over here, and it's kind of making sure it's all dialed in. It was just all part of the process, but it wasn't completely easy. It took some time, it took some focus, it took some conversations, it took some process mapping, but once you kind of better understanding of it, then everything really did kind of flow together.
Yeah.
I know it's
Uncle Mind Harbor.
Uncle
Mind Harbor. They're part of the family.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I know it's only been 2-ish months since you guys have officially launched. Have you seen a positive response from, your internal team as well as the external users who are using these websites and ordering processes every day?
Oh yeah. It was kind of funny. So we launched at Waste Expo in New Orleans in May. And so we had a very large presence of our sales team there. And it was very flattering because I had to actually push them out of the way so our customers could get to the table and I can give them the demos.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So,
well, that's good.
I know a lot of real positive feedback from all of my field service reps saying, hey, Kevin, this is something we've been trying to get towards for a long time. Well done.
Wow.
And so the internal recognition was very flattering. To take it from I think a lot of experts in the field. Yeah. And so to be kind of commended for them for something that's helping them solve solutions, which is making their day better, which is helping me kind of make sure I've established that purpose, right? And so those were definitely a win. Now once we got to talking to our customers and even some of our vendors about our website, our vendors were extremely, extremely excited about what we're doing and wanting to make sure that they were on board. So we're opening up other avenues for people who want to market their product to what we're doing. I mean, that's where I was like, oh, hey, this could be kind of like an Amazon. Yeah. I mean, we'll see. We'll see how that goes. It's a long road, but beyond that was really just kind of having the ability to show them all the different capabilities. And so now we're at a point where we are working very closely with our larger customers kind of making sure we're doing business a smart way with them, and then getting them set up to use the website efficiently, helping them with consolidated billing and making sure we've got all their ship to information kind of defined and easy to use. And so, it's a lot of those things that since it's all driven from the ERP system, it's a matter of making sure that some of that is working correctly. And I get out of the way. I just get to be a recipient of that from e-commerce perspective because we built a solid foundation that is all driven from an ERP system, and so it's where I wanted to be. A little easier for me to support. It should just kind of work, and that's what it's doing.
Yeah. That again, that simple question of like, where's my truck? There's a whole trove of things that had to happen to get to make that question. Something very simple surfaced on that web. And
That's awesome. So I have one last question for you today. And that is, how was the collaboration with AmericanEagle.com beneficial in ensuring, a strong foundation for the company Wastequip overall, to further enhance their digital strategy?
Yeah. So when you get to work with people, I'm going to name drop and just say Jeff Ruley is an outstanding person to work with at AmericanEagle.com.
Minnesota nice.
Minnesota nice. And Minnesota polite, unless I start talking football with him. That's only because I'm a Packer fan. So, don't hold that against me being in Chicago, right?
No, they're a client of ours as well.
There you go. Yeah. So, having the team that you guys have to kind of support me is all there. I mean, there is a project manager, there you got some, product experts. You brought in people to have additional conversations with me to make sure it was structured correctly. The vetting out we did of each of the different use cases we had was extremely important and ended up being really what all of our user testing was about in the end of the project. So you guys kind of walked me through this path of this development process that made the overall implementation work, and kind of guided me through it and when it got to points where it's like, okay, Kevin, let me explain to you how this actually works, because, maybe I was a little green in certain areas, right, Derek? Just a little green in a few areas.
I don't recall any.
Any greenness.
Well,
you've always been an expert, Kevin.
Oh, yeah. Oh, thank you. So as we kind of worked through those areas.
I am colorblind, though.
Perfect. It might have been red. Yeah. So, but as we worked through those, it really kind of became that overall partnership and just kind of, and it was kind of vetting out. It was like, well, here's how we scoped it. Is this what you actually meant or not? Because you're saying something different here. And that's kind of where we started that. I was like, well, it actually evolved into something else as we got more accustomed to what we were seeing, and so American Eagle and their flexibility that they gave me as a client and really kind of helped to still take whatever that vision was, even though that vision may have been skewed a little bit when I started to where it ended up being. That's what I was looking for, and it's what I'm continuing to look for. I mean, I sent them a laundry list of questions for what our phase 2 is, and they're going to help me scope that out, and we're going to figure out how to continue to build this thing, and to continue to enhance that experience, to continue to be the leader in the industry. And the only reason why I'm there is because I'm partnering with great people and great companies like all y'all at AmericanEagle.com.
So I'm gonna steal or borrow a little phrase or word from one of our other partners, BigCommerce, and that is humbitious. And I think that describes this man next to me right here.
Humbitious. Is that humble and ambitious combined into one?
Oh.
He's a good guy. He's good people, well, even though he's not from the Midwest.
Yeah,
the best people are.
Organ transplant in North Carolina. So I don't know where it should be at.
Get you moved up.
There you go.
Well, thank you so much. I'm so glad to have learned all of this about you and the company and the project. It's awesome that it turned out so great for you guys. And I wish you luck in the future with everything.
No, I really appreciate the opportunity to get together and kind of tell our story. Thank you very much. It's been a wonderful experience. Can't look forward to our next one.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Derek, for co-hosting with me today as well. Thank you.
Thank you all.
All right.
Thank you for listening to Modern Marketing Messages. For more information about the topic discussed today, check out the description of this episode. And if you like this episode, follow the podcast wherever you listen to them to stay up to date with us. While you're at it, give us a rating and share this podcast with others. Don't forget to follow us on social media at Modern Marketing Messages. This episode is brought to you by AmericanEagle.com Studios. I'm Taylor Karg, and I'll be back with another Modern Marketing Message.